In the American muscle car category is the 1961 Pontiac Ventura Sport Coupe owned by Gary Doty of Bath, Michigan. The Ventura was the sporty model. You had the Catalina, of course, the Bonneville at that time. The Ventura was a special edition on the Catalina. I have a special cheat sheet here, which I like even more. One of the things that you'll notice about this car, I think perhaps other than the chrome Buick road wheels and the saber wheels on a late 50s Cadillac, these are Pontiac 8-lug wheels. The brake drum and the actual wheel are integral, and it was a unique Pontiac design element until 1968, 1969. Of course, all the cars had disc brakes, and they had to give way to those. The other thing that I think is especially interesting about this car is the interior. Pontiac called it Morocite vinyl, and its tritone interior, two of which of the vinyls are metallic, which is especially interesting. This particular car was rescued in 2004 from a field in Santa Rosa, California. It had not been registered since the early 70s. The master cylinder had been removed and tossed in the trunk, but the car was 100% complete and original. The factory build sheet from PHS, or Pontiac Historic Services, verified that this is an all numbers matching original car, and it has been restored, of course, to its original condition. It's a 389, 3-deuce, 348 horsepower car. We call these cars today, especially when you see them on the Chevys, they call them bubble tops. That's not what they were called when they were new, but we call them that today because the roofs had very, very thin A-pillars and C-pillars. Not particularly effective if you had rolled over the car, but especially good looking from a styling standpoint. So just an awesome, awesome car. Congratulations on your first place award. Very deserving. Great car. In the European import category, this is John Gagliardi from Framingham, Connecticut, with a 1957 BMW Isetta 300. If you've all watched Wayne's show, Chasing Classic Cars, there's been an Isetta on the show more than once. But this particular, the Isetta is really the car that saved the BMW from death. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. This car was built under license by ESO. BMW, however, replaced the motorcycle engine with their own motorcycle engine in it. These were built in fairly good quantity in Germany. You heard me talk about microcars or bubble cars as they're known. These were built in fairly good quantity because of the cost of gas, the cost of licensing, taxing, etc. in Europe, and the size of course, European side streets. These were very nimble vehicles, very easy to park, and of course, very good on gas. The interesting thing also about them is the steering wheel is attached to the front door, unlike the Heinkel that you saw. He has to close the door in order to be able to operate the car, whereby the gentleman who had the Heinkel could actually operate the car. These have become the rage, for lack of a better choice of words, amongst collectibles, and this one is more so desirable because of that wonderful sliding sunroof that it has. And I gotta tell you too, awesome color combination. I love the colors of that. Great car, congratulations on your award. Okay. Well, I can't help myself but make some commentary. This is my good friend Mark James from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We're from the same town. It's Gary, one of his restorers, who's driving the car. Mark is the owner of a 1958 Studebaker Golden Hawk. Mark, again, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Mark has a disease, and it's called I like Studebakers. He's relatively new to the hobby. I think Mark's been collecting cars for about 5 years, and he very kind of quickly catapulted himself to the top of the heap with the restorations of his cars, which are absolutely magnificent. Bear in mind, this is the 1953 Studebaker Commander Starliner that was designed by Bob Burke of the Raymond Loewy Studio. Studebaker, however, had to get with the program because that car, which had a very European look to it, was actually sent back to the committee at Studebaker, And Studebaker was the importer of Mercedes-Benz automobiles at this time. They put a Mercedes-Benz looking grille on the front end of the car, of course grafted a new roof on the car to give it a hardtop pillarless body style. There's no B-pillar on the car. And then they grafted fiberglass fins on the rear of the car. Mark, how many of these were made in 58? 878 Golden Hawks were made. These Studebaker didn't have the bucks, of course, that the big three did, so consequently their thing was to do these lovely color combinations, had very interesting fabrics in the inside of the car, and to me, I think these are absolutely one of the most handsome of all of the 50s automobiles. These also were very, very good automobiles in terms of performance. Studebaker advertised this as a sports car with a back seat long before we thought of doing that. But you will probably not see a more stunning restoration than this car. Mark, I've said enough. Congratulations. I'm going to have to put up with your big head later. And I should also point out, you guys do not, where are you putting them? Oh, they know? These guys are in contention, by the way, I should point out, for Best of Show. In the MG category, winner of the Best in Class trophy goes to this 1932 MG Magnus Styles Special Threesome Roadster owned by Malcolm and Barbara Appleton of Waitsfield, Vermont. This is also chosen by Peter Kumar from Gullwing Motor Cars as his favorite automobile. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I asked for the cheat sheet on the car here so I don't miss something, because this is a very unusual and very rare MG. Fred Stiles was the concessionaire and racing team manager for Alfa Romeo from 1927 to 1931. 30 of these bodies were built. 5 original chassis body combinations survive. This car is one of them and is the only example in North America. The original owner was Dr. Francis Tilney Evans. According to his daughter, this car was purchased by her father on May 2nd, 1932 as a birthday present for her mother. And it was from new, it was painted this lovely color combination of blue with the tan trim. And I hate to keep handing something back to you. Okay, we'll hold it for you guys. I should also point out to you, this is one of the cars that is in contention for Best of Show. Congratulations to the Appletons. Okay, our next car in the wood-bodied station wagon category, Wayne's good friends, John Gagliardi from Farmington, Connecticut, with a 1947 Ford station wagon. I'm sure that'll be especially pleasing for Wayne to be able to present them their award. Jim.
Just one quick thing, that the lovely lady that was adjoining Peter Kumar out there was his wife, Monica Thurkel. So thank you, Monica, for helping us with that.
Good job. Okay, we heard me talk earlier about the Fords. The Ford wagons were unusual amongst all the Woody wagons because Ford actually owned his own forest in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So the wood was harvested, sent to the Iron Mountain facility, and then ultimately to Detroit to be built into automobiles, which is very different compared to all the other manufacturers who essentially sent them to coach builders or cabinet makers. The outside framing on this car is ash, which was most typically used because it's stable, it's very unaffected by humidity. The inside wood is maple on this particular car. I asked you earlier too to take special note inside these wood automobiles to see the roofs because they're much like canoes. This particular car is powered by a Ford flathead V8, and I believe that is Washington blue, if I'm not mistaken, which is a very quintessential Ford color, but especially handsome automobile. Congratulations on your Best in Class award. A double award winner, Best in Class in the Postwar American category, and the Rogo Award being presented by the folks from there, or one of our sponsors, my friends John and Lynn Coate from Guilford, Connecticut, with a 1961 Chrysler New Yorker Town and Country. I've had the pleasure of talking about this car many times before. It is a over-the-top, spectacular restoration. This particular car was owned by a producer of the Milton Berle show. If anybody remembers who Milton Berle was, I can't be the only one out there. But a producer of the Milton Berle show. He also did Broadway plays. He had a home in New York, but also a home in Pennsylvania, in the mountains of western Pennsylvania, and the car was kept there. So it got very few miles on it. It had very, very limited usage. This particular car has every option that Chrysler offered that year, including dual air conditioning, front and rear air conditioning, which must have been put on but a handful of cars in 1961. It, of course, is that wonderful New Yorker four-door hardtop body style. The other thing that this car had, talk about technology, it had safety seal tires. If you look at John's tires very carefully, the tires that are on here are to replicate those tires because they are no longer made. There's a little blue dot on the tire. And if you had a puncture on the tire, you literally put a canister to the tire, piercing that hole, and it reinflated the tire. In 1961, that was just an incredible, incredible option. And this car, I mean, I never fail to be entertained, John, when I see this car, and Lynn. It is just absolutely over the top. And I think, what did they make? Less than 1,000, correct? 760 of these in 1961, so there must be but a handful of them left. The other thing is, of course, this is Virgil Exner styling to its best. You have all these things going on the body of the car, but those wonderful, wonderful fins like only Exner could do. He was the king of fins. Just an incredible automobile, you guys. Congratulations on your award. Thanks so much for coming.